You guys have a lot of history in comedy, and I think that's interesting because I'm curious if you consider this show a comedy or a drama or somewhere in between.
I mean, it's hopefully both. I mean, I think that we we were really interested in tackling some of these bigger themes in a comedic way. I think we both worked on New Girl together for 6 years, and so we kind of had the muscle memory of writing sitcoms and sitcom structure. And I think it was actually really helpful for us to approach the storytelling from that angle of just like, okay, we're taking on these issues, but the audience is kind of, especially in the first few episodes, like kind of along for the ride in a funny way of just like these humans navigating this like incredibly emotionally intense moment in their lives and like in very human kind of ways that are both sad but very silly and fun. And I actually think like I think the mix of the tones allows the audience to feel more, and to laugh more because hopefully the characters just feel more human because they're not, one thing or the other. They're not like just funny or just sad. It's like they're human beings, like.
Yeah, it's like life does not exist in just one genre.